So to act this way privately and then to get online as if I'm some monster was wild to me.
So it looks like James Charles is being cancelled again, but this time it's not for being a creep with minors. It's for supporting and sleeping with abusers in one of the most disgusting scandals he's had yet. And with the situation getting messier every day, we've really got to ask, why is James Charles still here in the first place? So hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. I am Jake Baz and James Charles is in hot water once again. The makeup influencer turned inappropriate child messenger has once again been caught in a crossfire. And he's being totally exposed for what he is, which is a major creep and a terrible stain on social media. He's now responded by suing people, losing his temper, and also having multiple people come out and talk about their situations with James Charles, making everything so much messier. With this, he's attempted to hide the alleged truth of sleeping around, as well as stabbing people in the back. This all revolves around a TikToker, Evan Johnson, a current imprisoned and convicted abuser of the fellow TikToker, Kayla Malec. One of James's older friends, but not friends anymore, because to everyone it looks like he stabbed her in the back and then gone and had a sexual relationship with her ex-boyfriend, which is just absolutely wild stuff. And it's getting to the point where even the people that are coming out about this are then having stuff come out about them. It is so messy. There's so much to get through here, so if you enjoy the video at any point, please do hit the like button and subscribe if you're not. Helps out the channel a lot, and I would love to see you back for future videos on people that are rotting like James Charles. So to unpack this mess of a grim situation, we really have to go back to the start, which starts with Kayla Malec. Because this entire scandal wouldn't have actually started if it wasn't for a terrible situation that she experienced. Kayla has been friends with James Charles since, about 2023 it looks like. So they've been around each other for ages. They've known each other for quite a while and they've seen each other quite a few times. Just noted this is in August 2023 and Kayla Malec was freshly 18. So that's yet another thing of James Charles being around young teenagers. There's quite a few instances of that. At least in this instance, he wasn't sexually attracted to her. And this beef all started when Kayla, a month ago, uploaded a 2-part series with a 3.5-hour long edition on her YouTube exposing her ex-partner Evan Johnson for all of the terrible things that they did while they were in a relationship. These details include proven allegations of domestic assault, as well as many cases of emotional abuse, as well as manipulative behaviour, which is just absolutely disgusting. In the video, she says that there was mental abuse, there was a very toxic culture between them two, mental torture, and Evan even went to the point of breaking her jaw in one instance due to one of the altercations that happened. Absolutely grim stuff. I implore you to go and watch these videos if you are interested. It gathered so much traction when it came out, and it was obviously a terrible situation which is now being mediated. Because after these back and forths that they had, he ended up getting arrested, pleaded guilty, and is now being sentenced, as Kayla says here.
As we all know by now, he's been arrested. The court case happened. And nothing feels real still. But yeah, everything worked out.
And this situation really deserves another video of its own because it's just constantly going around. It's one of the worst things that I've seen in a while of like a large influencer coming out and talking about yet another large influencer. She really had the balls to come out and do this, so it really needs imploring. And as I said, it's been proven guilty, so hopefully we will get action soon. This video came out in April, and despite that, very shortly previous to it, it turned out that, James Charles was doing a certain thing with this Evan Johnson. And allegedly, they've been having a sexual relationship, partnership together throughout all of this. And not only that, to the point where James Charles knew about this stuff that was going on, this abuse, this all of this sentencing, and he still decided to be in a relationship of some form with him, which is just mental. But we will get onto that. We'll look at the responses as well. Weirdly enough, I checked his Snapchat, this Evan Johnson, and it's really odd because he's still posting spicy links on his Snapchat, which is so weird. I guess you've got to do anything to get that bag, and if you've been convicted as an abuser and you've got your sister working your account, that's obviously what she wants to post. You half naked. Yeah, brilliant. As well as doing a pure James Charles and deleting everything once everything came out about it, which, I mean, perfect person for James Charles with what we know, what he's like, to be dealing with. And up until that point, James and Kayla were still friends. For example, here in the first of this year, them posting makeup transformations. But after that, that, things definitely did change against them, and allegedly this relationship has been happening romantically after he knew that he was an abuser, which, what are you doing? There were a couple of rumours going around that this relationship was actually happening before it got fully exposed by someone called Zack, which we will cover later, who's got his own bad stuff going on. But it was really exemplified at the end of the month when Kayla posted this clip on her TikTok.
I can't get into too much right now, but I found out at Coachella, literally last weekend, that a close friend of mine had basically really f***ed me over in ways I could have never expected, and I got sent proof and receipts, and that person admitted it to me that they had done it. And I don't want to the thing is I don't want to talk about it because right now, for at least because I'm still healing, court's coming.
Although she's not confirmed it, this really does allude to the James Charles potential, and this was only made further and further more obvious throughout the days that were going on, to the point where it started building up, and literally, like you can see here, every single comment that is in the top is all about James. And one little thing to note, because of everything that's going on, I imagined that she wasn't going to talk about it and explicitly say it's James, and she still hasn't because of the court case which has just concluded. You need to think as well, this person's been through an absolute torment of a time, so it's understandable that she's going to take her time with things. But this didn't stop raging. It was everywhere over social media for the entirety of the past couple of weeks, to the point where we started getting things like this show up.
Just letting everyone in Australia know that James Charles is sleeping with Evan Johnson, the one that broke Kayla Malec's jaw and badly beat and abused her, the one that was in prison. James Charles has been housing this mother, flying him out to sleep with him.
It's weird when you get to the point of the public knowing about something that's going on, like if it looks that obvious, or if things are going on that you can very evidently see. People were linking up the dots, and they were saying, well, these two have been together at this point. And not only that, they've been together at this point post Kayla posting this video, which exposes him as the disgusting work that he is. Turning in the public's mind everyone against James Charles once again for him to potentially be allegedly having this guy round in a romantic relationship, which, I mean, it does baffle the mind. But then also you remember, and a lot of people forget, I don't understand why so many people forget, but the James Charles incidents with minors, messaging them inappropriately, sending them inappropriate messages, and also the inappropriate sex as well, like that is something that did happen that I can happily say, not allegedly, and have no worries about being sued. Because remember, this is the man who did admit it. But just remember, when he did actually admit that he was messaging minors inappropriately, it was a reckless part of his past, and it was because he was desperate. You know, someone with multi-million followers who did have multi-million at that time, he was just so desperate for attention. And I want you all to remember this with stuff coming up, like he should have been cancelled a long time ago for doing this stuff, because it even came out last year. I covered it last year where he was doing an age check. He's got a consistent pattern across multiple years of his existence, and he's been exposed multiple times for it. But somehow a lot of people forget during these situations that he might be interpreted as a bad person. He was literally sexually messaging minors. Like, that is it, really. That's all you have to say. So to me, the character of him hadn't changed with this alleged stuff that we'd seen, but then it got blown totally wide open by a guy called Zack. Zack Sellars, an actor and the former best friend of Evan Johnson, came out a couple of weeks ago in a basically a documentary style interview exposing his former best friend Evan Johnson, as well as talking about James Charles, mainly because, well, James Charles had been hiding and covering this. Everything that we said up to this point was just like allegations from the people in the media, from people just messaging on TikTok. It was kind of a circle jerk in a way, but this came out and further proved that, well, them two were actually mingling, and not only that, in a sexual manner. You know, pushing away one of your former friends who you've been collabing with for years at this point to try and get to their boyfriend now that they're exes, even though she has come out and said that he's abused her. Like, that is genuinely mental to me. And we're going to go through some of the stuff in this now, but just note that this really tempted James Charles to the point where he actually did respond, and his response is actually quite terrifying. But in this, there is huge truth bombs dropped around James Charles because it essentially breaks down the entire situation of what happened, and also proving that both Evan and James knew each other, and also that this is a totally sexual relationship.
So let's go back a little bit to James Charles' involvement. Would it be fair to say that you felt like the nature of their relationship was definitely sexual?
It was 100% sexual.
And what kind of things did you witness?
So based off of all of the messages of the messaging 24/7, the pictures that I, previously did not want to see, but I saw, I knew it turned sexual because Evan was engaging back, but I felt like Evan just was like playing a game, but James was very, very serious.
This is not only something that we've seen before from James, but it also does really expose him once again for just not changing, despite the amount of apology videos that he's done, as well as the response video to this coming up. But this obviously adds a lot more spin to the situation, because not only is Kayla having her ex-boyfriend go be with one of her friends now and just, being around each other, which, considering everything that we know about the situation, is absolutely disgusting. But not only that, he's being cuddly with them and having a sexual relationship with them. Like, it's really like he was waiting for his turn, don't you think? It seems, if anything, very tactical from James Charles, and, well, he's pretty good at that.
James started the friendship as, I'm here for you, I've been through the same kind of things, like, I want to give you advice, listen to me. So I had went on my TikTok, because when I say that I stand for Kayla, I stand for Kayla 100%.
Trying to cuddle up to him. Oh, I'm sorry that you're going through this at the moment. I remember being cancelled. Well, do you want to be cancelled with me as well? He's had like 6 cancellations at this point. He is a master of this, James. But doing this instead of going to your friend and saying, oh, I'm sorry that this has happened to you, I didn't know about it. Just ignoring Kayla and then going straight for the man because you want to have sex with them. What the are you doing, James? With this being exposed, it was actually initially exposed via a TikTok from Zack, and he said within 500 views of this video, he had a message from James Charles, which he shows in the video, which, may I just add, is absolutely insane. Like, I know that James Charles has this massive media campaign machine, which really tries to scrub his image. In these screenshots, he said to Jack, well, hello, I'm just seeing these, absolutely not on his side, and it would really, really appreciate if you would leave me out of this. Also saying that he only spoke to him because he got manipulated into thinking that it's something similar to what he went through being cancelled. It's a bit different, James. You were messaging children. He was abusing women. They're different types of cloth, Cancellation on the internet, which I don't believe cancellation exists, and clearly it doesn't, but it exists in multiple forms, and, well, that's not one of them. Then also saying, as soon as I saw Kayla's video, I felt disgusting and awful, and I've stopped responding to him altogether, which is really weird because, well, Zack proves further on in the video, he goes through and talks about how they knew about this after the situation, so that really doesn't make sense. Also saying, I don't think it's fair you're making a video accusing of me of being a monster when I convinced you to, with a call to hash it out. If you're responding within, like, 500 views of this TikTok video being posted, it looks like you've really been waiting for this, or you knew that certain people had certain influences around it, James. So that is a bit odd, isn't it? It's just the timing of it is a bit odd. But also saying, well, you've been in the same situation, just trying to play it down of what he's actually done is embarrassing as well. It's also mentioned in this video that Kayla and Evan and James were going to do some sort of like promotion together, which really seems a bit odd when you think about it, with the coincidence after they broke up, because Evan doesn't really fit the brand at all, and now you're looking back at it and they've had this potential alleged sexual relationship. It seems weird, doesn't it?
So then James had reached out to Kayla and said something along the lines of, are we still good to do this Valentine's Day project? And Kayla said, oh, so funny, actually, we literally just broke up yesterday. Evan did some of the worst things a human being could ever do to someone to me, abused me, explained the situation.
So James came back after she said that and was like, can I have him now? Kayla thought he was completely joking. Like, literally thought her best friend, which is, James at the time, was just joking with her, saying that.
But that's already like a really inappropriate joke.
Yeah, that's...
Even if it is, but little did we know he wasn't joking at all.
No.
Can I have him now? Well, yeah. It looks a bit odd, doesn't it now, James? Because you've ended up being in this sort of messy situation. But that's the thing for me. They found out that they'd broken up. James realised they'd broken up, and the first response is, can I have him now? After she's like, oh, he did the worst things possible to me. If that doesn't tell you the kind of person that James Charles is, I don't know what will. Because nobody is hearing that from one of their good friends that they've been friends with on social media for so many years, and then hearing the story from the other side and not believing the friend in any way, shape or form, and then starting a sexual relationship with that person that has done that. That is not realistic, and that doesn't happen in the real world unless you're literally just trying to get at someone. James goes back to Zack after the response saying that we are not in contact. I stopped responding right after a video. When he asked for advice, I originally did tell him he shouldn't respond because he's a dumbass and I would never be able to defend himself. Clearly he knows why. So you're giving him advice on how to manipulate this situation. Like, even if everything else is fake, that in itself is bad. You stopped responding to him right after the video, but you were also mentoring him before the allegations came out, even though that Kayla was your friend at the time, or supposed friend. Why ditch the girlfriend for the ex-boyfriend in that situation unless there isn't any other sort of intentions? And when as well, there's been no falling out between him and Kayla. There's been no falling out, so that really is weird, isn't it? And to me, it also stinks of total damage control mode, because what has happened potentially in this situation is Evan Johnson has gone to James Charles's house, flew him out, had a good time, as they say in it. He's then lied to his friend, and I guess he's done that because that means that he doesn't expect her to come out with anything. Maybe she doesn't talk about it publicly, but then has totally shit the bed when someone gets him inside of all of this mess. With him now in response videos, as we'll cover in a second, trying to crawl himself back.
What happened between them on that weekend together?
So on that weekend, Evan had Snapchatted me, and he was laying in James's bed. And James's bed, as I can go back and think, is pretty much solid white comforter, white sheets, white pillowcases, just very, natural. And it was a very large bed because Evan snapped. It was like, just woke up. He didn't have a shirt on, and he was literally in James's bed. And he was like, I was literally like, this is the nicest bed I have ever slept in.
So there's no way to verify it, but from everything else that you've seen, and also that it was his best friend at the time, it's a bit weird. It's not really adding up, is it? For the ex-best friend of Evan, after James has gone and said, well, no, nothing happened, to be then in James Charles's bed with a top off in the morning saying just woke up. It's a new one, isn't it? And it really speaks volumes of allegedly what is going on. Sorry, I have to keep saying allegedly. I'm scared of getting sued, because after this, that's exactly what James has done to Zack. He also shows a screenshot from Evan on Snapchat where he's talking about James, basically corroborating that, yeah, James told him to be quiet, as well as saying because Kayla's got a huge fan base, it's really hard to get his truth out. Well, you went guilty, didn't you? Even though it makes me look guilty, you pleaded guilty. There's diehard fans, and then there's a justice system where you don't even go through a jury, you just say that I'm guilty. That kind of shows, that you were definitely guilty in that fashion. And following this expose that came out, there was so much more that was posted around James and also this situation, to the point where you got this from Kayla, which really shows that she knows what's going on.
Oh, I know.
Trust me, y'all. I know. And all I could say right now is after court. After court.
It's now technically after court, and she's not posted anything yet, but there's still sentencing to go through. Like, he's convicted guilty, he's pleaded guilty, but they've still got to go through the sentencing. So it's probably not going to happen for a while, because also she's still processing all of this damage that she has gone through herself. But this really, with the timing of it, just a couple of days after, really speaks volumes, because what else would she be talking about? Now, with James's response, because it wasn't James's response initially, he really did go silent for weeks after this and weeks preceding it, which, once again, with all of the things that James has been involved in, do you think he knows how to solve these sort of controversies? Zack has been getting so much backlash, and deservedly so in some aspects, like, for example, selling merch specifically as this stock went up. That is a bad way to deal with it. And also there is multiple instances of, well, he didn't really show that screenshot. He's just talking about it. But at the same time, I'm more inclined to talk and receive that sort of information from him than I am from James Charles. But James did respond. He finally did after all of this. Coincidentally, the day that Kayla got the guilty verdict on her ex-boyfriend, which really is odd timing. It's almost like you waited until that point to then actually release it. That's a bit odd, James. Are you sure that this is intentional? Did you mean to just do it that day on a random whim, or is something going on that really influences your decisions on when you post it? But we'll have a look at some of the stuff he said in here, because it really has flipped the script for quite a lot of people around this situation. Just basically say that Zack is a massive clout chaser, and that all of this that is going on is just an attempt to get him in a messier situation. Mind you, this is a guy with a full PR team, and also who has been caught messaging minors, just to remind you.
I do not support Evan Johnson in any way, shape, or form. Let me make that fucking clear. I don't support him. I don't support violence against women, and I sure as hell do not support the disgusting, deplorable, violent, heinous acts that he committed against Kayla Malec behind closed doors. I really fucking hope and pray that when this goes to court this week, Kayla gets justice for what that man put her through. At the same time, the videos that I'm currently seeing all over my For You page are disturbing to me. This is not TikTok tea and drama for everyone else's entertainment. This is real people dealing with some really serious shit. The conversation has completely shifted focus away from Kayla Malec and how she was brave enough to speak out about what she went through to how James Charles involved, the downfall, Bye Sister 2.0, where's the apology video? It's distracting from the actual issue at hand, which is domestic violence. I have not spoken out about this for a couple of different reasons. The main one being, this is going to court this week.
James is right in saying that it is distracting away from the actual issue, but then also it's not, because, well, if you were in this situation and people thought you're in this situation, and also this Zack has seen you in this situation, surely that is a bad stain on your character, and also that should genuinely be included in any conversation. But it's also a perfect deflection point that a lot of people do. You'll see it in loads of debates, loads of arguments that people have on back and forth on maybe even Twitter, in actual like debates that you see on TV. People will push away from one issue by going to another issue. It's a way not to only deflect what you've done, but also to play down what you've done, because, well, we're talking about domestic abuse here, not actually about me having a sexual relationship with anyone. It brings the tone down, and I think it's intentional on James's part why he's done that.
I hate that I'm getting online and filming this video right now, but I truthfully have no other choice, because I've also spent the last several weeks trying to get in contact with the only person involved in this that actually matters and needs to hear the truth, and that's Kayla Malec. And she has been unwilling to have a conversation with me. And frankly, I don't blame her. After I watched the laughable interview between Be Better and Zack Sellars, I wouldn't want to have a conversation with me either if I was being fed complete bullshit, lies, and misinformation from the person whose only source of information is the same man that lied to and abused me for 9 months straight.
Maybe Kayla doesn't want to talk to you because she's seen the stuff and she doesn't want to, have an actual conversation about it. Maybe that's the point. What James is admitting here is he's not mentioning all of the actual, proof that Zack is saying at this time. He's just deflecting it away. I mean, what if Kayla did see more?
At this point, I have no choice other than to get online, tell my story, and then prove my story to be true in a court of law. I am suing Zack Sellars and anybody else that thinks it's funny or entertaining to get online and spread defamatory and slanderous lies, misinformation, completely bullshit, made-up stories for the sake of views, likes, engagement, and galaxies. I'm done.
And this is what confuses me and makes it bad about influencer culture, is that he's seen it as people spreading lies are then going to get sued for it. But what? So anyone who's doing it for likes, engagement, culture, so anyone who posts anything? How about someone who just reports on something? Allegations at their sense are allegations until proven. So whether or not you approve this in this video, it doesn't mean that you should do that. James has allegedly had things in the past years that would scrub his image, make him cleaner, and that's how he still has a massive social media platform despite all of the heinous acts that he's done. And even with Kayla being friends with him, I can imagine that, well, when she was growing up, he was a massive star, but he still messaged minors and admitted to it. Kayla shouldn't really have been friends with him, but that's not a point of the conversation here.
This all started at the beginning of 2025 when I reached out to Kayla about her and Evan being in a Valentine's Day video together. She told me she couldn't. She was crashing out because they had just broken up because he was crazy. I tried to lighten the mood a little bit and make a lighthearted joke asking could I have him now, and then asked what actually happened between them. All she told me was that he did awful things to her and that I would find out more in her 30-part TikTok series. She said she was upset that she helped build his platform based off of lies and abuse, and whenever she was healed, she was going to get online and expose him. I'm going to be so honest, I did not take this conversation very seriously. And Obviously, now knowing what we all do, I should have. Reading it back now, it is super clear that she was using humor to cope, and that is perfectly fine and valid. But at the time, I genuinely interpreted these messages as a messy breakup. Maybe he cheated, maybe they got into a drunken argument that ended badly. I could have never imagined what she was actually going through behind the scenes.
Like, from the receipts here, I actually don't think that there's anything bad here. And I don't actually think he's playing it down as he says that he is. Maybe he could have asked some questions around what actually went on, as, you know, like a friend. But allegedly seeing him after, that changes things.
A lot of Kayla's own friends and family have said they had no idea what she was going through. I wish I could go back in time and been there for her, tried to help her. First and foremost, she obviously wasn't ready to talk about it yet based on her last message. And secondly, me and Kayla Malec just weren't close friends. I don't say that to take away from her feelings about this. I don't say that to undermine what she went through. We've only met a couple of times. We collabed in 2023. She guest starred on a podcast with me in 2024, and we hung out at our mutual friend's Halloween party back in October. We've never hung out one-on-one. We've never had a deep conversation. I just really didn't know her that well to be able to interpret these messages and have a better idea of what was actually happening behind closed doors. And I wish more than anything I did, because I should have never gotten involved with this, but I did not know what she was going through.
Playing down the friendship aspect is a bit odd to be doing in this sort of thing. Like, yeah, it's proven that they've only met a couple of times and maybe they weren't actually like good friends or anything like that. The messages really don't seem like that, do they? To be honest, they don't seem like they're not good friends at all. And also playing down it by saying we've only met 3 times. Well, you might have spoken to that person daily for years and you're admitting that. But I don't know, that's just a potential. But if true, it doesn't admit what allegedly Zack saw.
I really hate to admit it, but I did have a brief friendship with Evan Johnson that started and ended well before I ever learned about any of the violence that was going on behind the scenes. He reached out to me a couple of days later asking me for advice and told me the same exact story that Zack Sellars believed and then repeated on the Be Better podcast. He told me that he moved back to Nashville to go to church and get therapy and try to become a better man, and he seemed vulnerable. He seemed real, and he seemed scared that Kayla was going to get online and start telling lies about him, and he knew exactly what to say to relate it back to a situation that I was in that made me have sympathy for him and be on his side. I feel so dumb for ever believing him, but when I was in a similar situation, all I cared about was anybody treating me like a human being and hearing me out and being there for him, so that's what I tried to provide. We became closer, we would start FaceTiming, he was very and depressed, and eventually he told me that he wanted to come out to LA to escape and get his mind off of things for a weekend, so I invited him out.
And that's something that I've seen no one really talk about. Well, he did speak to him a couple of days afterwards. He did talk to him for a couple of weeks. He FaceTimed him quite a few times. So you ended up becoming much better friends with him after you broken up with Kayla. That is really odd. Evan and James, that is a bit of a weird one, isn't it? But also, yeah, you believed his manipulation and you believed his lies. But then Kayla was the person who you ended up being friends with first. You're the only reason that he now knows you. Like, why didn't you dig into what actually went wrong with Kayla? But you did with Evan. There are 2 sides to every story, so you really need to understand, like, each from each side. Like, just believing one person's going to lead you down a path that will take you the wrong way. You've got to get both sides of the argument and come to a conclusion. I'm sure if you spoke to Kayla and you realised what had gone on, you would have done that, but you didn't, because you're a fucking idiot, I think. For Kayla, you got a couple of texts there and back, but with Evan, you decided to start FaceTiming and then flying him out. What? When you've said yourself in the past that you are desperate, and also with everything else that we've seen, the picture doesn't look good, does it?
All we did was sit on the couch, order food, watch movies, but over the course of the weekend, I slowly started to notice that some of his stories were not exactly lining up. There were inconsistencies, and I started to get worried that I might be on the wrong side of things, and that was confirmed as soon as Kayla noticed that he was at my house and I had to lie to her. I didn't know what to do. I realized then that I was in the middle of a very messy situation that I should have never got involved with in the first place, but this man was staying with me, and I didn't know how to get out of it. Later on that night, I told Evan straight up I was uncomfortable, I was upset that I had to lie to her, and that we could not hang out any further. He respected that, and the next morning, he flew home.
Also, you know full well that Kayla is going to be making a video on this because she said that, and she's going to spill the tea. So she's going to make this stuff public. So then, why would you invite him over to your house and then also lie to Kayla about them being together? What are you doing? Also, you're in a shit state. You're feeling not very well in yourself as Evan, and you need that sort of release. Well, surely you had a good friendship group at home. Surely you had multiple friends that you could have been around. Why do you have to be the person to solve that? And then why wouldn't you be the person to be there for Kayla while she was going through it as well? To me, it's evident that he has a preferential treatment towards Evan, and, well, that's a bit odd, isn't it? When you look at everything around it, what could potentially be the reason why? Could it be because of the sexual attraction towards him? I don't know.
But it wasn't until a month later, when Kayla uploaded her video, He Doesn't Love You, that I actually got to sit and watch how much of a monster he is. My jaw was on the floor for all 2 hours of that video. I could not believe what I was watching and seeing. The horrendous verbal abuse, the violent physical abuse. I was shocked. I was ashamed for not taking me and Kayla's conversation more seriously. I was embarrassed for ever believing that man's lies and manipulation. And I was angry with myself that I ever allowed that man into my home. It was horrifying, and I'm so proud of Kayla for being able to speak up. A couple of days later, I started getting messages on Instagram from Zack Sellars, Evan's best friend, basically warning me that Evan had lied to both of us and telling me that I should cut him off. I didn't see these messages at first until he made a public TikTok accusing me of still supporting Evan behind the scenes, and I messaged him right away because I was confused.
But no, that's another thing that confuses me. How can you ignore all of these messages that are coming into your DMs, especially when you've got people, I presume you've got people that look into your DMs and things like that for like brand deals, this sort of thing. Why wouldn't you look into that form of that person? Well, it's Evan, you know Zack, like that is literally it. You know each other. How would you not see all of that, but then you would coincidentally see a TikTok from him when it had less than 500 views, which would then lead you to message him? Remember that this is a man that in the past has been caught talking sexually inappropriately to minors and also tried to get away with it, as well as an alleged slew of many other instances. He should have a platform, so hearing this sort of stuff but then taking it with a pinch of salt doesn't make sense to me. Remember the person that this person is.
The only reason he even knew I was involved at all was because he was physically with Evan as his best friend, supporting him every single day. It took me 3 days with Evan to realize that something wasn't right here. It took Zack 3 months. So to act this way privately and then to get online as if I'm some monster was wild to me.
It took Zack 3 months, but he was messaging you before it, but then also it only took you 3 days, once again playing down the amount of time because he has previously said in this video that he was speaking to this guy for weeks and also FaceTiming him for long times and periods. Like, that is very obvious that it's not 3 days, is it? So why are you playing that down? But there isn't a lot of verifiable proof here, really. It's all just hearsay.
Video of James Charles supporting Evan Johnson behind the scenes snowballed into more videos, more content, and then live streams. Every single night, Zack has been live asking for galaxies in exchange for showing more receipts. He's been asking his followers for their cities and locations so he can go on tour with Kayla after this is all over with. He's even been asking for donations on PayPal to fund a merch line. This has nothing to do with getting justice for Kayla and everything about making an opportunity for himself. And the perfect one came along when Be Better flew him out to Canada for their podcast interview. Aside from the timeline that I just told you guys, everything else in that hour-long episode is complete bullshit.
This is a way to discredit Zack so he doesn't seem like a reliable narrator to then make everything else sound wrong and fake and false around it. But then also seeing Zack use it as some sort of like profiteering scam is also something that isn't very morally right for him to be doing. But at the same time, he is just doing Instagram live streams and that's what people do anyway. So I don't know what his streams were like before, but if he was doing that irrespective, it's not a point to make. But he's trying to discredit him by saying he's just trying to get money and fame from him.
Rumors about somebody online is one thing. Unfortunately, I know that comes with the job, but to publicly accuse them of prostitution is complete bullshit. No proof, no evidence of any of the ridiculous claims that Zack is making because they did not happen, which is why I have no choice other than to take legal action. But before I do that, I want to quickly take a second and clear the air on some things that have really set me over the edge. First and foremost, Evan Johnson and I did not, in any way, shape, or form, have a physically sexual relationship. We did not have sex while he was here, and I did not, under any circumstances, pay Evan Johnson for sexual favors. Not in person, and certainly not online through a secret OF account where I'm apparently funding his entire life. That is absurd. Not that it's anybody's business, but I do have an OF account. I'm a grown adult. I barely use it, but Zack, if you would like to see, I will gladly send you a screenshot of my transaction history. I have nothing to hide, and I have not sent Evan Johnson $1 single dollar.
You don't get much traction on that OF because everyone's over the age of 18. That part's definitely hearsay. I do believe James Charles in this instance for sure. I don't think that what Zack was doing was intentional, but I think he was probably playing it up as some sort of like big conspiracy theory when in fact they did still meet. Whether the physical sexual thing happened at all, I still don't know, but as James Charles says, that is not happened. But then also no mention of, well, why you were in his bed naked in the morning, Evan. Why were you doing that? And then also around the sexually explicit messages that it was seemingly coming forward from James Charles. Why was that happening as well?
He claims to have seen a video on Evan's phone of him having sex with me. Zack, post it. If you have the receipt, if you have the video evidence, you can upload it. You have my full consent and permission. I've had far worse posted to me online that I didn't consent to. Go right ahead. But you can't because there is no video of something that did not happen.
Here's the tough bit and hard bit here because he acknowledges that he's seen a video of James Charles having sex with Evan, but then at the same time, he's saying, all right then, go post it. Go post it online, I don't care. Well, obviously he's unable to do that because it was on the phone of someone who he is now not friends with, and definitely somebody who I can imagine is trying to cover up their tracks for maybe James or maybe Evan, allegedly. The problem is a lot of stuff like this is circumstantial. It's also something that is really hard to prove, so it's hard to get either side, but obviously with James Charles saying that this didn't happen, you've got to lean on the side of, well, yeah, maybe they didn't have a sexual experience, but it still doesn't mean that anything that happened wasn't wrong. James Charles definitely did still hear from Kayla saying that he was one of the worst boyfriends ever, thought it was sarcastic for some reason, then went and got to Evan, got all of the scoop from Evan, believed him, and then flew him out. Like, that did happen. That's still a terrible stain that looks even worse now that she's uploaded these videos, Kayla, of her exposing the situation that makes you look like an idiot. I just don't understand with a former friend why you would just gloss over it, but then in another instance with the ex-boyfriend, you would then go and do this sort of stuff with them. It makes no sense and it looks terrible.
Be Better doesn't even stand by these claims because he's now added a disclaimer to their interview that says he was not able to verify a single thing that Zack said.
Well, yeah, they've posted this because they're worried about getting sued by someone who infamously sues people. James is using this as a ka-ching, but like, obviously, he's just going to restate that intent after you've seen and know that there is potentially something coming for Zack. Like, that is obviously going to be covering your own back. I think one of the problems in this interview is that Be Better doesn't really challenge much of the stuff, but says that it was verified by them. So then, how is that in public interest?
Second, there's a rumor going around that I paid Evan Johnson's bail. This is not true. It is a public record that it was Evan's family who got him out. Kayla's own sister has confirmed this.
JC did not bail out EJ. I know who did, and I cannot say anything.
An argument that I've maybe seen 1 out of the 500 comments, so I don't know where this has come from, but obviously it's hit a nerve with him. And then also Be Better said that James is going to be coming out with a video which is going to be doing exactly what he is doing here. So James responds to that.
Third, there's a new narrative started by Be Better that I am trying to silence anybody that talks about this issue. First and foremost, this is literally the biggest thing on TikTok right now. I don't understand how anybody could possibly assume that I'm trying to silence people, but Be Better made a video basically saying that I'm working with YouTube behind the scenes to manipulate their algorithm and get their video hidden. I truthfully wish this was possible. I've been making content for 8 long years now. There are videos on YouTube with 5, 10, 20 million views that if I could have gotten them removed, I would have. But Be Better, I know you said you're having your lawyers reach out to YouTube, so YouTube, I give you my full permission to release any communications between myself or my team to you guys about this matter because, again, they don't exist.
Yeah, that's stupid. That doesn't happen. They can't work with algorithms. They can't change algorithms in that sense. Does it mean that maybe they're selectively trying to get things taken down? Potentially. But yeah, the video definitely hasn't been hidden.
Zack has also now made a video claiming that my lawyers have reached out to him to threaten him, to silence him, and to offer him hush money. This is not true. Zack, my lawyers cannot contact you directly, so instead they emailed your modeling agency because that is the only contact you have listed. There was no threat, there was no offer, they were simply asking for the contact of your lawyers. I told you I was going to sue you, and this is what the beginning of that process looks like. It really sucks that at this point I am left with no options other than to pursue a case. As for Kayla, I am so sorry that I ever got involved in this. I should have never believed his lies and manipulation. I should have never even responded back to him in the first place, and I'm sorry for hurting you. I genuinely do wish you the absolute best of luck, and I really hope that you get justice for what that man put you through.
Once again as well, he pulls it back to Kayla and says, I'm sorry, I should have never messaged him, but you went way further than messaging. No wonder she doesn't want to talk to you. And at the start of this video, he's like, I don't, and no wonder she does because of this stuff that has been seen. But then also you admit that you've done wrong things. You just don't admit it in saying that you're sorry about it. That's what I find grim about it. I do think some of the stuff in here comes across as, well, a little bit gaslighty, to be honest. And I also think that a lot of the responses that have come from here, well, people saying, oh, he seems sincere. Well, this is a person who has had like 6 apology videos, so you'd think at this point they'd be pretty good at working out these apology videos. Also notice that throughout the entirety of it, he doesn't actually show any messages between him and Evan, which was one of the big things that Zack was saying. He was talking about, well, they were having these back and forths that seems very sexually engaged or motivated, and there is no proof that goes against that. But obviously, Zack can't bring it up himself. Only James could show them sort of receipts. And also, there's a lot of people saying that he shows regret in his actions. Well, I don't think he really does. He sort of glosses over it and then attacks people that were going at him for it. Really, there's 3 camps here. There's people who believe what James has said entirely. There's people who don't believe anything he's said because of the stuff that he's been influenced and been going through and the scandals that he's had in the past, which is probably me. But majority, there's a lot of people in the middle like, what? Well, where do we go from here? Because it's so messy and confusing, and I think it's only going to develop in the next couple of days. As well as Kayla coming out and maybe talking about it, but she might be a bit scared now because James has just gone and sued Zack. But either way, he's still done something which is bad and should be seen as bad. Whether or not you think that's cancelable, well, no, I don't really think it is, but cancellation doesn't exist clearly because he shouldn't be here anyway. And then obviously Zack made a response to this, but first off, Bryce Hall, who is another TikTok TikToker, a massive famous influencer, you probably should have heard of him, put this about the response from James.
Whoa, James Charles responded to the allegations with the abuser and victimized himself and made everybody seem like the bad guy except himself. And now he's threatening people with lawsuits. Oh my god. People are really in his comment section saying, oh my god, I believe him. He didn't stutter once. This guy makes videos for a living. He's been on camera for 8 years. All he does is talk. He has 19 PR teams. Would you think he was going to put out something where he was like stuttering on his words?
It's such a good point, and it's also even further made forward from the fact that it got posted the day that he was found guilty. There is little stuff where he paints himself out as a bad person apart from just glossing over a couple of things, but then also he just goes on a straight attack for 10 minutes.
30 minutes before James posted that video, I watched the Be Better video. I just tagged him in the comments. He literally said what James Charles was going to post and how he was going to respond to this, and word for word did exactly what Be Better said he was going to do.
Which is also true, by the way. They posted this video here, which I won't go through, but as we've said, it just highlights everything that he is going to say, which was a day before the actual response. Which seems like they either knew exactly what was going to be said, or we have a very good understanding of how James Charles's mind works.
I'm a D1 James Charles hater. I think he's a disgusting human being, and he's proved it time and time again. But because I'm such a hater, you don't have to listen to what I have to say about this freak if you want to hear. I can't believe people are even believing this weirdo.
Bear in mind, Bryce is a bit grim himself, to be honest. But he is right. Well, he is a disgusting human being, James Charles, and he's gone through so many iterations of trying to be a better person, and realistically, he's not changed at all. Zack then came out on a now-deleted post on his now-deleted TikTok because it got spammed or something after the response video, and he responded to what James Charles has said.
Hey James, so I'm on here because I'm responding to your video because you're going to sue me, and I can't wait to receive those papers and take this to court because everything I have spoken about is the absolute truth. Kind of crazy that you've been blowing the hell out of Kayla's phone up and she's not responding to you because she knows what you are and she knows the character that you are and she knows it's the absolute truth. And then you want to bring up Kayla's messages, my messages, but where are your and Evan's messages off Instagram? Oh wait, it was vanish mode.
Yeah, there's no messages there. You can't see the messages because, yeah, he's disappeared apparently. Well, I thought it could be potentially just that, well, he's just decided not to show them because it does make him, a little bit more incriminated than what he wanted to. But what Zack is saying here really does show that, well, there's maybe more to it.
But just because it was vanish mode does not mean that we can't get a hold of those messages. Because when this goes to court, we will be able to get all of your Instagram messages. And I'm scared for whenever they get over to your Instagram and see all of your Instagram messages and all of your vanish mode because you don't want no one to take screenshots because who you think you are and who you are. But I'm scared that there's going to be all these little kids that are going to have to come forward because of all your past allegations. They're going to also look at characters. They're going to look at my character from the past and they're going to look at your character from the past.
Which, by the way, we will get onto because he's been accused, Zack himself, of doing the exact same thing of what James Charles has done in the past couple of days. Being a PDF, which, this just adds another layer to it. And what is this? Is this some sort of like Diddy cult? What is going on here?
I cannot wait to take this to court. You will be canceled and you do not deserve a platform. At no means whatsoever. Also, you want to bring up, yeah, I've been going live. Absolutely, I've been going live. And you know what? Just because you said that, I will be dropping Bye Sister merch because there's no more sister. You're going to fall off of this platform.
Such a weird thing to drop Bye Sister merch and literally profit off of this stuff. Like, that is something that I find disgusting, and I think that's really out of pocket for him to do. Like, we do take it back to, well, this is all about Kayla, really, and you don't really need to be going to the extent of doing that unless it's going to be helping you with your lawsuit that hopefully you can win if you do get that. But also just mention he doesn't talk about the message with Evan, he talks about the messages with children, which obviously very disgusting thing, and potentially that is something that he has in the locker. He has admitted to doing it before, but it's just so messy.
So you wanted to bring up that you reached out to my modeling agency, your legal team did, and because that was the right way to do it, so be it. Okay, if that was the right way to do it, then let that be. but my legal team has already been in touch with yours. We're waiting on the papers because we will be subpoenaing your phone, no matter if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 phones, whatever. Because I do know there has been kids that have reached out to me and have shown me evidence where you have said, don't take screenshots, and also the Instagram messages have been on vanish mode. This is a lot more to it.
And now it is weird that he's going so deep into this because it's a lawsuit that is going to be specifically around the character of him. But then if he's going to get criminally prosecuted from it for these child stuff, which apparently he's getting messages for, that just adds another layer to it. But also there is a lot of deflection away from the actual situation, which makes you think, why isn't he hammering down, why isn't he deepening the type of law and the information that we need to come to a conclusion around this situation? It's just kind of hearsay, and it has been hearsay between all of these responses. He's not really helping the situation, he's just making it worse. And he's made it worse for himself now even more, because this accuser has been exposed on TikTok for being a very bad person, to put it lightly.
I'm seeing Zack Sellars all over my For You page, and he's the last person we should be giving attention or any bit of fame to. He's a disgusting person. When I was underage and he was well over age, he would ask for pictures and talk to me and gaslight and manipulate me constantly. I have pictures. I don't have a whole lot, but he's the last person we should be listening to or interacting with.
Now this one, of course, is just allegations again, which apparently on this second account of Zack, supposedly his second account, he's come in and said that he's got this defamation lawsuits going out to people, including this person here. Yet another just lawsuit Central America situation. And then also there's, on these screenshots, there's no time here. There's no, like, understanding of how old he was, how old they were. Like, it's a bit muddy. But he did receive payments in 2020 from Zack, which obviously, what's that for? If you go back to that, he would have been 15 and Zack would have been, I think, 20 at the time. So that really adds another layer. If that is the case, that's once again another set of allegations to go with all of these allegations that have been going on throughout this entire video, and the situation's a mess. I think this drama's hotting up. I think that if anything, if there's this lawsuit going on, it's all going to be settled there and everyone will know all the details around it. And no matter whether James is fully innocent or fully guilty, he still did something wrong and something that wasn't very good at all. He really just ignored his friend and then decided to go with the boyfriend for some reason, even though there was no connection there, which is also why he was trying to big down the, oh, she wasn't my friend, I'd only spoken to her like 3 times. Well, why did you go so deep on Evan that time? But I guess we will find out how far that goes. So if you enjoyed the vid, hit the like button and consider subscribing. If you did, I've been Jake Bars. I would love to see you next time, but until then, see you later.